We are not doctors. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as medical advice. Consult your physician before starting any workout routine. This is the Martial Heart Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. And first of all, we haven't done a podcast in the last few days, and that's because the last week has been a little crazy around here. We had some things going on that we are just not going to talk about right now. We may in the future, but for now, we're not going to. But suffice to say, for now, everyone is fine, and we're going to be okay. So it had nothing to do with my health. It had to do with someone else's health, and they're not ready to talk about it right now. So we're just going to move on. But it's been quite a few days of a lot of stress. So things have been a little crazy, and there wasn't really a lot of time to sit down and try to do a podcast. So we had other priorities to take care of, and that's where we are now. But back another week. Last night I did cardiac rehab, doing cardiac rehab again tonight. Still planning on being on the elliptical because I went in there last night. I had to miss Tuesday and Thursday of last week because of the things that were going on. And so I was a little like, oh man, I haven't done this in a week. I wonder if this is going to be horrible. So I just went straight to the elliptical and went ahead and did it. And I was sweating a lot. It was a pretty good workout, but it didn't seem to be bad. I guess, missing a few days didn't push me back too far. But we have, it's really kind of interesting because, well, like I've said before, they take your blood pressure before you exercise. You put on a heart monitor, they take your blood pressure, they give you whatever the class thing is if you're doing a class that day, and then you go do your exercise, your 30 minutes of cardio, and then you come back. They take your ending blood pressure, then you take your heart monitor off and you go home. So my blood pressure was high both times yesterday. Usually it drops really dramatically following the cardio exercise. And last night it didn't. So the lady, Jacqueline, the very nice lady who is one of them who takes care of us at the cardiac rehab, said, "Hey, what's wrong?" Like, what do you mean? She said, your blood pressure and stuff is up a little high today, and even after you exercise. So is there something you seem stressed out? What's going on? And I guess she's so familiar with how people's hearts work and how it relates to their moods or what's happening in their life that she knew right away that something wasn't right. And so we started talking about it. And I was able to, just get it out there and get it off my chest, all the things that have been going on. And so anyway, it was interesting that just by looking at some stuff on a chart, she was able to say, "Hey, you're stressed out. What's going on?" And she was right. So it's fascinating to me that you can know that much about a person just by reading their heart monitor and their blood pressure. But yeah, it stayed up there, 138/84, I think it was. At the end of the night, which usually it would be way below that. But yesterday, it just wasn't going to come down. And I don't know if it'll take me a couple of days for the cardio to start kicking in and affecting my blood pressure again. But I'll be back tonight, and I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to get back on that stupid elliptical, and I'm going to do the exercise thing on the elliptical. It seems to work really well. I like it. It's not a fun exercise machine by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know who thinks it's fun to be on an elliptical like that, at least that kind of elliptical, but it's very effective. It makes me sweat, and it gets my heart rate up where they want it to be. It doesn't make it go too high because they still have these limitations on there where they don't want it to go above a certain level. So if I start going too hard on there, if I start going above the criteria that they've set, then they come and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you doing this differently?" Things like that. But yesterday I didn't do anything extraordinary. I just tried to stay right on the levels that they had set up for me. So I wasn't exceeding things very much a couple times, but it wasn't even intentionally. What I've been doing lately is turning on YouTube or something and watching it, and I just kind of keep exercising. I just keep going, and I get entertained by whatever I'm watching on YouTube or on Tubi or Netflix or whatever I'm doing, and I just kind of drift off and into somewhere while I'm watching the videos, and I just keep going, and then all of a sudden, 30 minutes are up, and then I have to get off the machine. So it's been fairly, I don't want to say easy, but it's going to need to be more challenging in the long run. I can tell that already. It didn't take me very long to get used to this elliptical type of exercising. So even that's going to have to be kicked up a notch or two before this is all over. And then once I'm doing exercise at home, when I'm done with cardiac rehab, which I will be in, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 visits, then I'm going to have to figure out a way at home to really challenge myself on the cardio. I mean, I have all the things that we've tried over the years, so that I have choices, and hopefully I can give myself the same level of challenge that they've wanted. But I don't. The news is on the TV over there. I should have turned that off, but I don't know what's going on. Maybe I will turn it off, because who knows what might pop up on the news. Good Lord. Yeah, the news has been interesting the last few days, but I'm going to ignore that, because that's not what this podcast is about. So, yeah, I discovered something else too, and that was, if you'll remember back, a couple of months ago, when all of this was still fairly new, and I was having a lot of issues with the chest pressure, a really heavy thumping heartbeat, and like the feeling of nausea and like this almost emptiness up here, high up in the stomach, and all of those things, some shakiness. Those symptoms seem to come back whenever I get upset about something. And that was very unpleasant to go through and to realize, because I got angry about something, and immediately afterward, all of those symptoms were back out of the blue. The last few weeks, I've felt really good. And other than being sick here and there, because we're encountering people all day long, Allison and I both, because we're both out in public all the time. And especially me, I go into a lot of different environments every day and encounter all sorts of weird people. And we're both, we both have other appointments at doctor's offices and things like that to go to. And so we're around a lot of people who are potentially sick. So we do kind of get sick fairly often, just with like colds and things like that. The sniffles, which, I had for a few days last week. I still kind of do a little bit. But changing of the seasons might have something to do with that too. It's winter time, and who knows, you get sniffles, no big deal. But I suspect a lot of the people that I go do cardiac rehab around are probably not that well either. And they're going to get sick. They're going to have colds and flus, and they're still going to go in. And yesterday somebody was coughing behind me, and I didn't want to be rude and turn around and glare at them, but I could hear someone coughing, really bad. And sounded like they might have some pneumonia or something, and it was pretty bad. But so who knows? We're getting exposed to all sorts of things, germs and viruses, and so we have that going on for us, and it's great. It's great, yeah. But other than that, I've been feeling really good. And I haven't had a lot of those symptoms anymore. And I thought, well, maybe that was just something that my body had to work out and, kind of get past and figure out a way of dealing with it. Or maybe it was my body recovering, and that these were just symptoms of the recovery. And, but you realize they're not there. And so you get excited. You're like, wow, hey, that's pretty cool. I'm glad that's over, because that's just unpleasant to feel that way all the time. But then, boom, something happened, and they were back. And it forced me to realize that these things are not just recovery symptoms. These aren't just symptoms of having the heart attack. These are now physical manifestations of my stress. And it kind of solidified that for me over the weekend to realize that these are how my stress is going to present itself it's a physical reaction instead of just being a psychological reaction or, emotional reaction. I'm going to physically feel it in those ways with chest pressure, the nauseous, empty feeling in the pit of the stomach, and all those other things. And until I calmed down, which took more than a day, I'll tell you, they were still there. And it was very much like a couple of months ago. And that was discouraging for me pretty much because I don't like the idea of that. I can't say I've ever really been really good at handling stress, but it's always just been, you hold everything in and you just let it eat at you, because that's what you're supposed to do. And because that's in all the mental health books and everything. You just hold it in. And then, you know, it comes out at some point, or you explode or whatever you're going to do. But I've never had those like intense physical reactions like that to stress. And I've always sort of thrived on a stressful environment. Like chaos was kind of a comfortable place for me a lot of times for a lot of years. And I now apparently, whenever I get stressed out or upset about something, I'm going to have these heart attack recovery symptoms, like pressure in my chest and stuff like that. Not happy about that. So I don't know if that will get better over time. I keep thinking, well, I have to force myself to think about how long it's actually been. August, September, October, November, December. It's been 4 months. Actually, tomorrow will be the 4-month anniversary of me having a heart attack and being in the hospital and going through all that crap. So it's not a very long time. And, even a half a year isn't going to be a lot of time. A year post-recovery or post-heart attack, whatever you want to call it, is not going to be a lot of time. And especially the older you get, it's just not very much time at all. And so I start to I have to remind myself that I'm not recovered yet. I'm still going through cardiac rehab, and I still have appointments left to go to see cardiologists and my family physician and all this stuff. And I still have blood work to do and all these things still. So we're still very much in the recovery phase. And I sometimes forget that because when I'm feeling good, I feel good. I feel like, this is just a box I have to check. I have to finish this cardiac rehab. I only have this many appointments left, and let's check those off. And then boom, I'm done. And I'm officially recovered from having a heart attack. And that's not the reality of it at all. So this is going to be, this is my life. This is my lifelong issue that I have to deal with now for whatever remains of my life. By the way, last weekend was my birthday, so I'm 57 now. 57 years old. Who knows? Maybe I have a decade left. Maybe I have two. I don't know. But it's going to go by very quickly. So the remainder of my life, I have to be concerned about these issues, about my heart and about my arteries and about blood clots and about dying. So fun times. But the cardiac recovery, this rehab that I'm going through now, this has to become my life. This isn't just I need to knock this out and boom, I'm done. This isn't like I'm training to do a 5K and then you do the 5K and you're like, fine, I accomplished that, I'm done. So I don't have to work out anymore. I had this goal and I accomplished it. Cardiac rehab isn't a goal. It's a life-altering thing. It's the way life has to be now for me. So I have to continue to do it. So I have to sort of treat it like for the rest of my life, I'm still doing cardiac rehab, trying to keep my heart strong and healthy and prevent those nasty heart attacks from happening again. Hopefully it works. But anyhow, that's all that's been going on. And I'll go to cardiac rehab tonight, and I'll update everybody again in a day or two. I have doctor's appointments tomorrow, so I'll have some new information maybe from that. And if I do, I'll share it with everybody. And maybe the doctor has an idea of where I am as far as recovery goes. And maybe I'll have a different outlook or different, at least a different understanding of what's happening right now. And I'll share that with everybody. But until I come back, everybody take care of yourselves, take care of each other, eat right, exercise, get your lazy ass off the couch and go do some cardio, or, go take some yoga, go do some Tai Chi. I don't know, get a video of how to do Taibo with Billy Blanks. Do something. It's actually Billy Blanks was, you have no idea who he is unless you were aware of the Taibo craze 30 years ago, whatever it was that might even be longer ago than that. But Billy Blanks he is a martial arts legend. He was a legendary martial artist back in the day, a legitimate badass, and got into doing fitness videos for housewives and stuff at home, doing Taibo. And anyway, probably made a ton of money. I don't know if he still has the money, but he probably made a killing off of that. So I'm sure you can get his program really cheap now because it was from 30 years ago. But anyway, do something. You got to do something. Don't let yourself get too, complacent. Don't get sedentary. Go do something. Go for a walk. Eat your vegetables. I don't know. That's about all I can tell you. So, or go do some karate or something.